I don't know what I'm doing, okay? Hello, I'm Ellen,
And I'm Georgia.
and we are the ones that roll
Welcome to our podcast where we discuss disability and more.
when we're not busy eating popcorn and watching High School Musical, because we never do that.
Much.
Today we're talking about disability and mental health. So we're both pretty open about the fact that we have, as well as our disabilities, like experiences with mental health issues. So you have said before that you have quite a problem with the phrase, like, it's okay not to be okay.
Yes, because I agree it's okay not to be okay. It's alright to understand and allow yourself to feel a certain way. That is totally acceptable.
Yeah.
But what I'm against is when people say it's okay not to be okay and like glamorise sadness, and I feel like it's not okay to be okay. It's not. No one should have to feel like that. Yeah.
If you're just feeling down, someone's like, well, it's okay not to feel okay. You're like, well, no, it's not.
By saying it's okay not to feel okay, you're basically saying, oh, you're alright to live like that forever. You're fine to be sad the whole time.
Yeah,
and it's not.
Just get on with it. It's fine.
Yeah. It's part of the change that is the bit that's okay, is acknowledging the problem and changing.
Yeah.
Do you feel like with your mental health, people attach your disability to it?
Yes, and it seems to be the immediate reaction. If I were to tell somebody that I had anxiety, their immediate response is always to do with my disability, or like they're expecting it.
Thing is with me, with my anxiety, no one has, to my face, attached that to the disability. Whereas in my life, I would attach that to disability because I'm always like, will I get to here? Can I do these things? Can I get there? Will people judge me for being disabled while I'm there? People that don't know me, what are they going to think? You know, that's the sort of anxiety I have. It's not all about my disability, but I can make the connection with my disability and my anxiety more than I can with my depression. Whereas I feel like people attach disability to my depression. To a degree I can understand some days it is harder. But you know, everyone has days where some days are harder than others, depending on what you do.
Yeah, that's not a mental health or a disability thing, that's a life
Exactly.
thing.
So I've never really considered it. I've never been in a dark day and be like, why am I disabled? I hate this.
Yeah.
And I feel like people have attached that to feeling bad, as we've discussed in the past between ourselves, you know, how people assume because you're disabled you have to feel crap about it when you don't.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why people attach sadness and anxiety and depression to it, rather than just my pure general anxiety. No one really, they just think I'm a worrying person, which is true.
I find that my disability has a really minimal effect on my anxiety. There are times when it does, or so for example I get quite anxious in large crowds, and I think part of that is because obviously in my chair I'm quite low down, or if I'm walking then I'm extra low down because I'm so short. Partly that's made worse by the fact that I'm in my chair. That's made worse by my disability, but I think I would still have that otherwise. Because a lot of it is like that feeling of being closed in and not being able to...
Yeah, I would definitely agree in the fact that I would not link my disability to any of my mental health other than to escalate my mental health.
Yeah.
People blame disability for mental health when it's more of a increasing factor. I think they're two different things. We would still have this issue whether or not.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said that my disability doesn't bother me half as much as people think it does. There are times when I can't get into a shop, or I can't go certain places or do certain things, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But I don't wake up every morning and like curse God because I'm disabled. I mean, maybe it's easier because I don't know any different, but for me it's just a part of my life.
It's not the underlying problem. It's an aggravating factor.
Yeah, and it's almost as if it's other people's responses and attitudes towards me as a disabled person that are worse in a way.
It sounds harsh to put it this way, but I feel like other people can be seen as the problem in regards to their opinions. They're quick to judge behaviour. This therapist said to me, what about your disability? How do you feel about that? And although we did finish the session and it was all fine, I do feel like I spent that whole time and after that thinking, well, she's just assumed that my disability has something to do with my low self-esteem. Maybe it should. Maybe that's the thing people are most picking on me for. That's the reason people think I'm ugly and hideous. That is something I should be focusing on. And that's added on top of my low self-esteem and my body shape and my facial features.
It's almost like that wasn't there before, but she
planted
that seed
it in my head, yeah. And I feel like the only links I can make between my mental health and my disability have kind of come from other people's points of view. That I feel crap about myself because I'm disabled, like I should have.
Yeah.
Problem.
And sometimes it's just ignorance or just like kind of lack of thinking on that person's part, because they just don't realise. Because if you don't have experience with something, then you're not going to know.
But sometimes I feel like people should, if they don't have that experience and they don't understand and they are just assuming it, if that's what you're doing based on personal influence, you wouldn't want to be disabled, so you're just connecting bad feelings to disability. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
Don't talk if you don't understand.
If you don't know, don't say.
It can be in any sort of mental health situation. I feel like people try and link a problem to the mental health and therefore they name issues you should have. When you see someone every week in person, you come to know that person.
Yeah, and I feel like the emotion is lost over a screen or over the phone.
Yeah, and I feel like that is essential in helping a person, is you know how they deal with certain things and you help them with that.
I don't think actually I ever mentioned my disability, so it never really came up. But when I first started going to have CBT, it would come up quite often, in that we used to do this thing where I would talk about a particular event or something that was coming up that I was really anxious about, and we would go through the worst case scenario of what could happen, and every single worst case, realistically, and how I would deal with that. And a lot of it, so say for example the worst case scenario sometimes would be like I have a panic attack and I have to leave, and we would say, well, what would if you had a panic attack, what would you do? I would ask to go outside or just go home or whatever. And then sometimes she would say, well, would that be easy for you with your chair? Oh wait, yeah, if I was out with friends, I would have to call somebody and get them to pick me up. I couldn't just take myself home. And then in a way, almost kind of a situation that I hadn't even thought of had come up because somebody else had pointed out my disability. And it was because I don't think of my disability all the time. But obviously I'm aware of it all the time because I have to sit in my chair or use my frame, but it's not because it is just a part of my life. It's never like, oh, now I have to sit in my wheelchair to go somewhere.
It's never really a burden to us.
No.
It's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
To us, it's the 6 + 3 = 9. To someone else, they're 4 + 5. And I feel like it sounds bad to say that I shouldn't want to mention it, because I should mention it, because as I say, I do still have to think about it. It still causes me problems which do freak me out. Like, oh my god, if I can't get in that, I will freak out.
And if it's a factor of your illness, then it's really important that you mention it. But I think...
But it doesn't mean that I'm saying that it's the whole thing.
Yeah. People, therapists and people in general have to be aware that it's just one part, it's just one kind of minor inconvenience almost that contributes to it. So... to wrap up, we both seem to agree that our disabilities play fairly minor roles in our mental health issues, and that a lot of it comes from other people's expectations of us, which is interesting. Also, people aren't defined by their disabilities. Let's just say that every time. We will see you next time. We haven't got a sign out. We need a sign out, but that'll do for now.